MMAOB Daily podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin. I'll be taking you guys through the latest in the world of mixed martial arts. Follow me on Twitter at MMAdamMartin. This podcast is available at MMAOddsBreaker.com. And on our YouTube channel, please like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends about it, guys. I appreciate that. We made it to the end of the month. I can't believe it. August is over, basically. One more day tomorrow, UFC China, which I'll get to in just a few minutes. But, wow, summer went by pretty quick. I mean, I guess there's a couple of weeks left technically, but for me, September is the beginning of the fall. So crazy that the summer's gone by this fast, but we made it through it. So great fights this summer, guys, and I really enjoyed doing the podcast with you. So let me talk about a few different things in the news and then get some fight announcements and some unfortunate news for UFC China. But we'll start with some things in the news I want to talk about. And first thing was Nick Diaz was actually interviewed by TMZ, which is pretty cool. And TMZ, man, they do a good job. They really do. They get a lot of interviews with guys that most MMA media can't get a hold of, and they got a hold of Nick Diaz. And I had some choice comments for Colby Covington, which I thought was pretty funny. But one of the other things he said was he wants to fight George St-Pierre again. And I think we all knew this. After their first fight back in 2013, I was at that fight. It was not a good fight. It really wasn't. But the lead up to the fight was great. The Wolf tickets thing. I remember asking Nick Diaz about that. I think he gave me the Wolf tickets quote after I asked him a question at the press conference. That was pretty cool. That was, the lead up was great. The promotion was great, but the fight itself sucked. Either way, 6 years later now, Nick still wants that rematch with George. George is obviously retired, but it is a big fight. It is a big fight, and George St-Pierre, I think, will be able to be lured back with a big fight. Don't know if this is the right one. I think possibly could be the fight for GSP to come back, but either way, Nick Diaz wants this matchup, and George has talked about this fight in the past. He said that it's a fight that he thinks the fans want. He also believes the fans want Nate Diaz. Don't know if that will happen either, but either way, I thought it was kind of interesting that Nick was still calling out GSP all these years later, so that fight possibly could happen. And another fight that could happen is a trilogy fight between Daniel Cormier and Stipe Miocic, which is a fight I'd like to see personally. I think for DC, either a trilogy against Stipe or John Jones makes sense next. Cain Velasquez, his training partner, said that obviously Daniel's dealing with the death of his father recently to cancer, but he does believe that his teammate wants to fight Stipe in a trilogy. That could be the last fight of DC's career. I think it's a fight that makes a lot of sense. Man, that rematch was such a great fight, such a compelling fight. DC was winning the whole fight, and then he started getting caught with body shots, left hooks with the body by Stipe, got hit to the head, and then he got knocked out. I think a trilogy fight could be really interesting, especially if DC starts going to well and uses wrestling, which I think he should have used in the first fight. We all believe that. Obviously, his corner has said now publicly that they were screaming for the takedowns. DC said that as well. He didn't listen to his corner. He got into a brawl with Stipe. He got caught. He paid for it. I think a trilogy would be a great fight. So Cain Velasquez is out there saying that he believes his teammate wants to fight Stipe in a rematch, in a trilogy, I should say. And it's a fight I think the whole MMA world wants to see. So I'd love to see that. UFC China, a few pieces of news here. Pretty unfortunate. A featherweight fight between Movsar Evloev and Zhenhong Lu has been canceled. That's a rematch actually between those two guys. Apparently Lu suffered a cut and the doctors deemed him unhealthy enough to fight, so that fight's been canceled. It's unfortunate. It was a rematch between these guys who fought in M1 about 5 or 6 years ago, I believe. It was a mismatch according to the odds. Vlog was a -950 favorite right now. At close, the line will be pulled obviously soon. Lu was +625, but at the same time, it was a fight that I think some people were interested in just because of the fact it was a rematch and the fact that Evloev is supposed to be this really good prospect, and he's fighting a guy he's fought before who could make some adjustments. Either way, I don't think anyone was going crazy for this fight. It's not like the main event got canceled. When I saw a fight got canceled, I started freaking out. But thankfully, it was a fight that it's a main card fight, but at the same time, it's not like it's super important. So maybe these guys will be rescheduled in the future. Maybe Evloev will get a quick rebooking for that Russia card in Moscow in November. I'm not too sure what's going to happen there, but yes, it's definitely worth noting that one fight is canceled on that card. So it's down to, I believe, let's see here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think 11 fights. So that card takes place tomorrow morning, guys. I'll be honest, I don't think I'll be able to watch it live. I don't want to screw my sleeping pattern up watching this card at 3 in the morning. So I'll probably just catch it afterwards when I wake up on replay. And I think a lot of people will probably do the same thing. Should be an okay card. I mean, let's be honest, it's not the greatest card in the world, but there are some pretty sweet fights on this card tomorrow. Andrade Rochang, DeSantos versus Jing Liang. Cara France versus De La Rosa. There's a couple good fights. Derek Krantz versus Song Canyon. That's a pretty good fight too. Ismagulov versus Moises. So there's some good fights, but overall, definitely one of the weaker cards. And again, myself and Cold Sheldon previewed that card the other day on Tuesday. You can check that preview podcast out here at MMAOddsbreaker.com. And I want to mention there's one fighter that did miss weight at the weigh-ins earlier, I believe this morning, and that was Wu Yanan. She came in 3 pounds over, missed weight. So her fight with Mizuki Inoue is still on, but it's a catchweight fight now, and I still believe Inoue wins this fight anyway. So we'll see, because fighters that have missed weight actually have been pretty successful, but I do think Inoue is the better fighter, and I believe she gets her hand raised. So we'll see what happens there. All right. A couple of fight announcements to get to. There's some pretty good fights actually coming up. Here's a good one here at UFC Sao Paulo, welterweight bout between Sergio the Panther Moraes taking on James V. Krause. Pretty good fight. I mean, Moraes has struggled a bit lately. Got knocked out in brutal fashion by Warley Alves at UFC 237 in Brazil. I was live at that fight. Man, that was a crazy knockout. I was actually on the side of the cage where he got knocked out, which was absolutely ridiculous. I actually saw, I guess you could say that, but either way, I was very close to Warley Alves and Sergio Moraes in the elevator and hallways that whole week, because my room was on the same floor. I was actually, I think I was two rooms over from Moraes. Man, that guy had a game face on. Like, he's the happiest guy in the world, but you should have seen him in the hallways, guys. Like, he was like, wow, I've never seen a guy look so mean. But I mean, hey, this is how they have to get in their mindset to fight, right? So it was kind of crazy seeing a guy that's always happy and stuff. But wow, and he got knocked out, so that kind of sucked. But man, Warley Alves is a special talent. Anyways, Moraes coming off 2 straight losses, but still a really good fighter. He is 37 now, so probably on a decline in his career, but he's definitely shown some good performances in the past. Takes on James V. Krause here, 33 years old, James Krause. He's on a 5-fight win streak. He actually knocked out Warley Alves in his last fight. That was last summer. He's also beaten Alex White, Tom Galicchio, Shane Campbell, and Derek Cruikshank during his win streak. He's a really good fighter. He hasn't fought in a little while now. It's been over a year, so that definitely worries me. But James Krause, a little bit younger, a little bit longer, a little bigger. I like James Krause in this fight. And the fact that they do have a common opponent, Alves, and Krause won that fight in their last fight, that is kind of interesting to me. I think it's easy matchmaking for the UFC, just to be like, all right, well, you guys both fought the same guy. Let's just put you together. Anyways, I do like Krause, even though the fight's in Brazil. I just think he's a better fighter. He's on a way longer win streak, has so much more momentum. He should be able to win this fight. James Krause is a guy that I think doesn't get talked about a lot, but he's actually a pretty good fighter, and he has a 7-3 record in the UFC. That's not bad. Next up, middleweight bout, UFC Singapore, between Ian Heinisch and Brad Tavares. And this is good for Ian Heinisch to get a quick turnaround. I think most of us thought he'd beat Derek Brunson. He lost that fight by decision. I think it's a good learning experience for him. It snapped his 5-fight winning streak. I mean, the guy looked amazing against Cesar Ferreira and Antonio Carlos Jr. He looked really good in those fights. So the loss to Brunson hurts, but this fight against Tavares is his opportunity to get right back there. Pretty much the same spot he was before. Brad Tavares is a really good fighter. He's 31 now, 17-5 record. He is coming off a loss to Israel Adesanya. That was last July. Has not fought in a while, obviously, but before that, 4 straight wins, including a knockout over Christoph Jocko and decisions over Talis Laitis, Elias Theodorou, and Sean Mogerly. So he's a good fighter. We all know what Brad Tavares does. He makes fights really dirty and gritty and just grinds you. So this should be actually a really close fight. I could see it going either way. I mean, Brad Tavares is known for his cardio. He's known for his durability. Ian Heinisch is known for both those things as well. This is definitely a close fight. Ian Heinisch probably has a little bit more gas in the tank just because he did start his career a little bit later than Brad Tavares, but Tavares definitely is a solid fighter. So I think this is a fight that can go either way, and honestly, it should be probably a pick 'em at the sports books. Next up, this is a fight I think a lot of fans are looking forward to. Abubakar Nurmagomedov takes on David Zawada at UFC Moscow. Let me see here. Abubakar Nurmagomedov, let me pull him out here. He has a 15-2-1 record, so it's not bad. He's coming over from PFL. In PFL, he went just 1 there in PFL, but that was a big upset. And he beat. He actually had a draw with Bojan Velikovic, which was a pretty solid fight. So it's unfortunate he had the fight with Velikovic, but the draw against him. But still, a pretty solid record in his career. He does have a couple notable wins, including one over John Howard, which I think it looks pretty good right now, considering John Howard just knocked out Ray Cooper III. So that's not a bad win for Abubakar Nurmagomedov, and he takes on David Zawada here. David Zawada, has struggled a bit in the UFC. He's had 2 fights, 2 losses. Lost to Danny Roberts by split decision in a really good fight. I think that was fight of the night at UFC Germany, I believe. Might not have been. Yeah, it was fight of the night, actually. It was. So it was a really good fight. He lost a split decision there. Could have won either way. And then he got knocked out with a kick to the body by Jingliang Li in his last fight, which obviously is unfortunate, but Li Jingliang has a lot of knockout power, so not a surprise there. Before that, won 5 straight fights. Abubakar has definitely struggled a bit, I think, compared to the expectations put on him, but this could be a good spot for him to get a win. David Zawada has really struggled in the UFC, and I believe that Nurmagomedov probably does win this fight either by decision or maybe by stoppage on the ground. Finally, one other fight announcement here. Court McGee will be taking on Sean Brady at UFC Boston. Court McGee, another guy that's been around a long time. Got a lot of respect for this guy. Obviously, we know his story. He's been around forever, really. He made his debut in 2010 now. Yeah, it's been a while. Almost 10 years in the UFC for Court McGee. So good for him. He is on decline, though, no doubt about it. Lost 3 of his last 4 fights. Coming off a split decision loss to Diego Lima. He had a really solid start to his career in the UFC. He had a couple of good wins. He has a win over Robert Whittaker. I remember that fight pretty well. That's a great win now in hindsight, but lately not great. Lost to Ben Saunders, lost to Sean Strickland, did beat Alex Garcia, but then lost to Lima. So really struggled as of late, and he will be taking on Sean Brady here in his fight at UFC Boston. Sean Brady is 10-0, 26 years old. He's a really good prospect. He's coming off a 4th-round TKO win over Taj Abdul Hakim in CFFC. Before that, had beaten Gilbert Urbina in LFA. He beat Colton Smith in Shogun fights. He has a couple other wins in CFFC as well. This guy's a good prospect. I definitely expect him to beat Court McGee in this fight. It looks like a setup fight to me for the UFC to have their new prospect come in and take out a veteran on the decline. Court McGee definitely is going to make this fight gritty. It's going to make it tough. He's very durable, very difficult to knock out. But, Sean Brady is just a great prospect, and I definitely expect him to win this fight. So I think that's it for the UFC fight announcements. I'm just going to check to see if I missed anything. Let me check here. UFC. I'm going to go through the card. But, yeah, man, this China card tomorrow, it should be okay, guys. I just personally, like I said, don't want to screw my sleeping pattern up getting up that early. It doesn't seem worth it, or even going to bed that late, personally, because I'm on a pretty tight sleeping pattern right now. All the stuff I have on the go. So we'll see what happens there as far as the card. It should be, maybe a better card than I think some people expect, but at the same time, you look at it and you're like, this isn't the greatest showing from the UFC. As far as new fight announcements go, like I said, I think that's it. Just taking a look and seeing if I missed anything. Don't believe I did. I think that's it. I get pretty much all of them, guys. Anytime UFC announces a fight, I'm right here talking about them. So believe that's it. Yeah, that's all I have to talk about for those new fight announcements. Any other news? Nope. That's about it. Honestly, it was a slow week in MMA. It really was. Obviously, the BJ Penn thing was pretty big. But other than that, there really wasn't too much going on. I'm assuming next week's going to be a lot bigger with Khabib versus Dustin Poirier. It's going to be a crazy week. So, guys, once again, thanks for joining me today. Again, it's Friday, August 30th. So the month's basically over. One more day in the month. September 1st is on Sunday, and my birthday's in 2 weeks. So I'm looking forward to that. That should be pretty good. But, yeah, the fall's here, and summer's basically over. So anyways, guys, thanks again for joining me on today's MMAOB Daily podcast. I'm Adam Martin. You guys can follow the podcast at MMAOddsbreaker.com. Check me out at bjpenn.com, MMARings.net. Guys, have a great day. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you very shortly. Have a good one.